for what he's going to do. You know, God is not done. He's not done with our lives. He's not done with our church. He's not done with our ministries. And the past is not going to be greater than our future. This is not a time to look back and say, I wish I could get back those good old days. This is what God is saying. Your best days are still ahead of you. Now, the reason I'm saying that is because we go through so much pain and suffering and loss and heartbreak just in life, bad news, that you can get stuck in a bad situation. We go through trials. We go through valleys. But I love Psalms 23. It says, though I walk through the valleys of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil because you're with me. Your rod and staff comfort me. What it's saying is we walk through a valley. We don't stay in a valley. On the other side of the valley is celebration. On the other side of the valley is breakthrough. On the other side of the valley is a next level ministry. So, but every single vision comes with difficulties and trials. And I would love vision with no obstacles, with no difficulties and no trials. But the reality is, if there weren't any difficulties, trials, and obstacles, this would never happen. I would never grow into the person I need to be to accomplish a God vision in me. Well, God is more, see, I want you to get this. God is more interested in who we're becoming than where we're going. We're more interested in where we're going. And God says, it's great. I'm going to take you to point B and you're point A. But when you get to point B, you're not going to be the person you were at point A. God is more interested in the transformation that's happening in our lives right now. And the good news is one day we're going to pass through this life and we're going to finally go to our home destination in eternity. But right now, while we're in this life, we're going to keep on dreaming. We're going to keep on getting vision from God. We're going to keep on fighting the fight of faith. And we're going to continue seeing God do great things through every single one of us. How many believe God has some great things to do through us? Well, we're talking about vision today. And I want to just start off with some of the things that have happened even this year and even the last few months. And then we're going to talk about where we're headed. You know, in the last month or so, we just purchased a women's and children's home. That was just a vision. It was just a vision at the beginning of this year. We wrote it down. We found out that the number one call we were getting in our office was women and children, ladies that were living in their cars with their kids, and they had no place to live. They had no money for a down payment for an apartment, and they were terrified of losing their kids, and they were out there in the cold. They were out there being abused. So we got these calls over and over. My daughter answered the phone here. She goes, Dad, I get that call more than anything. So we said, we got to do something about it. Knowing what to do and doing something about it are two different things. Because see, vision has a price to it. Vision costs. Either it costs education, it costs finances, resources, time, effort, sacrifice. But there's no vision without a cost. So we wrote it down. It doesn't cost us anything to write down a vision. Someone in here is this is what's going to happen. You will defeat your depression through the pen and a paper. Why are you going to defeat your depression through a pen and paper? Because right now your mind is telling you, you have no future. You've messed up. You ought to be ashamed of yourself. Look at the position that you're in. And if you keep thinking that, this is what's going to happen. It's going to overpower your hope and your dreams. Someone's going to get their hope back. They're going to get their dreams back. They're going to get their peace back. They're going to get their purpose back with a paper and a pen. And then you're going to say this, God, show me your future for your future for my life. And this is what's going to happen. You're going to write down a vision, and you're going to start getting excited about it. Because when God gives you a vision, I want you to get this, he's not teasing you. He's promising you. When God gives you a vision, He's not teasing you. He is promising you that what you wrote down, what He showed you, it's done. It's going to come to pass. Right now, God is saying, when you write it down, believe what you wrote down, what I showed you. What I showed you is done. So we believe that we would have a women's and children's home. We've been looking all year and waiting to be in a position financially to get one, and we got one. So this was going to happen next year. I love this because we're going to grow. There's faces right now. I got a call last night. As a matter of fact, someone Facebooked me last night. A lady, she's living in a car with her children. And she said this, Pastor, I just got my car taken away. So she don't have a car now. I told her, get here this service, and we're going to help you any way we can help you. If it means getting her car back, but there's something greater than that. We got a house for her, and this is our goal. Hopefully this week we could open our women's and children's home, and we get some ladies with their babies off the streets. It all starts with vision. Right now we're getting a building across the street. That was a vision. That we would be able to expand as a church and do more ministry and touch more lives than we've touched in the year before. We're not going to touch more lives without a stretch. We're not going to touch more lives without any sacrifice. We're not going to touch more lives if we don't do things we've never done. So this is a church that has vision. What I mean by that is we're constantly going to be stretching and reaching out to reach more people than we did last year. We don't want this building here to have another building. We want another building to reach people that we're not reaching today. Now, what's going to happen in that building? In that building, one of the things that we're going to do, we've always wanted to do this. We're always wanting to start a beginning process of a school. We're going to start with a preschool there. And who knows, we might get all the way to high school when it's all said and done. We already had a name for the school, No Limits Academy. So we already had a name for it. But now God's given us some space, some seed to begin that process. So that building is going to have a preschool in there. We don't have a preschool right now. We're going to have a preschool. What's so great about that building there, it did have a preschool before with the church that was there. And they were the top preschool in San Bernardino 3 years in a row. That building has a DNA of an amazing preschool. Now, why is that important? We want to have a school for our little boys and little girls at their foundation. They learn right around 900 to 2,500 words in preschool. We want to make sure that some of those words are biblical. Some of those words have some stories of God in them. So this is what we're setting up. We're making sure our children have a good foundation. There's so much secular teachings out there, and sometimes they're learning words they should not be learning in school. But we're going to make sure they have an atmosphere where they can grow. How many believe that preschool is going to touch little boys and little girls? But think about this. What about families that are assigned to that building? We're also in the upstairs area. That brand new has a kitchen there, and beautiful kitchen. And we're going to be able to feed there. And also, we're going to be able to open up that building for smaller events. Instead of opening this whole big building, we could open that building for smaller venues and do those over there. Also upstairs, now you're in the upstairs area. This building originally was a medical center. And now it's going to be a spiritual healing center. We're believing people are going to come hurt, they're going to come broken, and they're going to leave restored. They're going to come without their children, and they're going to be restored with their babies. They're going to come addicted, and they're going to leave free. They're going to come with a broken marriage, and they're going to leave healed. They're going to come hopeless, and they're going to leave with some hope. All because we're going to have some extra room. Not up there in the upstairs area, has some classrooms up there. And what we're going to do up there is we're going to have a professional counseling center up there. We're going to take our counseling to a whole nother level. We're going to have all the court order classes up there. Anger management, parenting classes, recovery classes, marriage classes, family restoration classes. People are going to come without, and they're going to leave free, and they're going to leave whole, and they're going to leave restored. That's what's going to happen up there. They're going to come depressed, and they're going to be like these young ladies. You know, one of the young ladies said, she was diagnosed schizophrenic. She was suicidal. She would get high and run into the streets and try to get killed. But now she's here, and she said at first service, I want to live. I have a sane mind. I now have a purpose. This is what's going to happen up there. People are going to come in that condition and leave in a totally different condition. Also, in that upstairs, we're going to have a job staffing agency. That means that people that need a job, we're going to overlook their resumes in a sense and see where they're at right now and see what God has done with them right now, and we're going to be able to hire them. Isn't that awesome? A job staffing agency. So this is what happens. If you're angry and you want to overcome your anger, go to the way. If your marriage is on the rocks, go to the way. Right? If you need recovery, you're an addict, go to the way. If you need a J-O-B, go to the way. Isn't that great that we're going to have a place for that? We're going to take it to a whole nother level. Also, we're going to have not just a job staffing agency, we're going to have a job training center. What that means is we're going to train. We have an engineer that comes to our church and not an engineer, he has an engineering company, one of the top engineering companies in the country, because they're so precise in what they do. That means when they make a part, there's no returns on it. And he came to me right around a year ago with a dream. He goes, I'm really good at training people. His name of his company, I don't know if they have it up there, Milspecs. Is it up there? Milspecs? Well, we're training already. Do we have anything on Milspecs up there? No? Okay. Well, yes, no? Okay, there you go. Okay. No, okay. But this is what's happening. He's really good at training. He has an engineering company, and 90% of the people that work with him, he trained off the streets. And so right now, he's given us all the equipment. He's given us all the trainers. And he's given us contracts from contracts that he already has. So this is what's going to happen. Once they're trained, they're going to be hired on the spot. They're going to have a career right now. Isn't that awesome? So that's what's going to happen there. And then we're going to have, we have another worship center over there that we're going to start doing a video venue. So that means we'll run out of parking here. Someone could park over there and get the sermon over there. You won't have to walk across the street. So, and also we're going to start a Spanish ministry coming up. So that's right around the corner. We're also going to launch a church in Pomona. Now we're going to go to Pomona, and I'll tell you why. Because Pomona is an area that they need a church like us. I hear it all the time. I talk to police officers that work those streets, and they say, we need a church like the Way in Pomona. So this year, we're going to have the Way World Outreach Pomona. That's what's going to happen. This year, matter of fact, this is going to come before Pomona. We're going to start a church in Tijuana, Mexico. So why are we starting a church over there? Well, one of our members of our church, he's an evangelist, and he's been working the streets of Tijuana, Mexico for 28 years. He's been working those streets, and he said, let's partner up. I go, let's partner up. So right now, already, we got a men's home in Tijuana, Mexico. It's a 5-story house that used to be the drug cartel house. So it's being redefined. It's no longer going to be a drug cartel house. It's going to be God's house, and it's going to be a transformation center. And right now we got 28 men already there getting off the streets and getting off drugs. We have a second home. The house that we have there already, we got it for 10 years free rent. 10 years free rent. There's another house that we got 6 years free rent. The contract's already been signed, and that's going to be a family home for refugees. Right now, they're living on the streets with the kids and their mamas. They're going to actually have their own place. Right now, we got 3 families already living in the refugee house. Come on, let's give the Lord a hand what God's already doing. Right now, it's awesome. Isn't God good? Right now, we're looking for a church property. Our goal is to start a Way World outreach right there in TJ in January or February. And we're believing that thousands of people are going to come right there at the beginning and give their lives to Jesus. Remember, this is all about people. It's all about souls. It's all about heaven. It's all about eternal life. This year, this is what we've done already. This year, we started the process of building a school for little boys and little girls in Uganda. Right now, they've been under a tree. When it rains, and it rains a lot over there where they're at, they've been under a tree doing school for years. This is what's happening now. The foundation's already set. They're doing that right now. By the end of this year, for sure, maybe in 6 months, they will have a school in Uganda. What's so cool about our school, there they are right there. They're wearing our Kids World t-shirts. Those are our little boys. Come on. Those are our little girls. They've been abandoned. They've been abandoned. They don't have a mama. They don't have a daddy. But we're going to be their mama. We're going to be the providers. We're going to be there. We're going to clothe them. We're going to do a school. And what's happening in Uganda, the Muslims have come in, and they're the ones doing all the schools. And this is what they're doing. Your child can go to school, but your whole family must convert to become a Muslim. If you don't convert, you cannot go to the school. Now, this school is interesting because this school is on an island in Uganda. The Muslims haven't got there yet. And we're the only school on the island. You know what this means? Is once we put up that school, we got a whole island. And if you want to go to school, you got to go to the Way World Outreach School. Come on. Come on, let's give the Lord a hand. He's a good God. A lot of great things are happening. And we also adopted an orphanage this year. And when we adopted this orphanage, another orphanage, this is in Kenya. Now, this orphanage is really important because this orphanage has been supported for over 20 years. All their supporters have passed away. Their last supporter ran out of money. This young man came to America looking for support. Those little boys and little girls, they don't have any mothers. They don't have any fathers. A lot of them have seen their parents get killed right in front of them in war. And they've been left on the streets. So they're gathered from the streets. And then we got this home here. They have a home, but there's a problem. They have no money. They have no food. So this last month, we did an offering, and we raised $30,000 in one offering. And you know what's happening? This Christmas, those little boys and little girls are going to eat. They're not just going to eat from this Christmas. They're going to eat for the rest of the year because we're going to make sure that they're taken care of, that they have food, that they have clothing, that they're loved. And I never want to get to the point that we look at these souls, God's creation, and say, those are just little boys and little girls from Africa. No, they're not. They're souls that God has created, that He loves, that He sent His Son to die for. And that could be your little boy. That could be your little girl. That could be you. Just because you were fortunate enough to be born maybe here, or you got here in the United States, that could have been you. But I thank God we're treating them like it is us, and we're also treating them like it's Jesus. What you've done to the least of them, you've done to me. Isn't that great? And now we're also doing, which is one of our major things we're doing right now, is we've done a lot of work. We've completed 90% of this building. I say we're at the finish line. We got 10% to go. And that's what these bricks represent. Let's get this building in our name. We're finishing the cafe, should be done in early January. We're going to start building that cafe. There's a children's ministry area we're going to get done. We got maybe 10,000 square foot of children's ministry, not developed yet and not finished yet. We're going to finish that. We're going to start early January. We're going to get a playground for our children out there. So we're going to finish what we started. How many believe God's building should be finished? And we've built it. And I want to thank every single one of you that has sacrificed to do this. There's so many pledges that have been made so we could reach more souls. How many here were not in this church before? You're not in this church during the building process. You were not here during the building process. You came after the church was built. Can you raise your hand? Look at that. Look at all those people around us, which I would say this is probably 70 or 80% growth. You know what that means? This is a reality. They would not be here right now if it wasn't for those sacrifices. Let's give the Lord a hand. I want to thank every one of you for every pledge that you've made and all the sacrifices you've made. Now that's a big deal. And now we're sacrificing for the people that we don't know. We're going to get this building in our name. And eventually, I believe we're going to pay this off. Because I believe we should be debt-free. How many believe that? So next week, we're going to bring our offering, our best offering. And I want you to ask God, what is that offering? And let's bring our best offering. If you're here for the first time, just relax. But if God's speaking to you, because he might be speaking to you, say, I've never been part of building something for God. I've built something for myself. I've invested in things. I've invested in cars and houses and businesses. But I've never invested in building a house for God. Not too many people get a privilege of building a house for God. We do. And wouldn't it be great for this Christmas we give a building to Jesus? That'd be awesome. How many believe that we could do everything that God has called us to do? And eventually, what we want to do is also, we want to purchase that building across the street, because right now we're in this is what we're doing. We just signed the lease to purchase. That building is ours. How many believe that building is ours? The property across the street. We want to purchase that property across the street for parking, future parking. And eventually we'd love to have that warehouse too for food and resources. So if you want food resources, I just start claiming everything around here. How many know it doesn't cost nothing to just start dreaming? We've talked to the owner of that property all year long last year. The property across the street that had the parking, that property sold for $4.4 million. The property right across we had parking in. We were talking to this guy, and we got him down, and this is a better property than the one across the street because it's freeway access. We got it down to $1.5 million. And that could be future parking. Also, what I would like to put on there is a big, huge digital sign that we could put whatever we want on there. Say, why are you putting so much Jesus? It's our sign. Jesus. Put scriptures. We could do whatever we want there. There's so many signs that are out there promoting strip clubs and gambling and money and drugs, everything nowadays. But it wouldn't be great to have a sign promoting Jesus 24 hours a day. How many believe that's God's vision? And this is what I'm going to ask you. Just 3 commitments. 3 commitments. And I want to just mention them right now. Every vision comes with a price. And commitment number 1, this is what I'm going to ask you. Because we can't do it without every one of us participating. But if you're tithing, continue to tithe. It's the only way it gets done. If you haven't started tithing, make a commitment. I'm going to start putting God first. What does tithing teach us? To put God first. And God says, bring the tithe. That tithe belongs to him. He says this, test me if I will not open up the windows of heaven and pour out a blessing so great you won't have enough room to take it in. God is saying, trust me. Allow me to be the Lord of your life. Allow me to be the ownership of everything you have. And this is what I'll do. I will bless you and also rebuke every spirit that's devouring everything in your life. Let's put God back in charge. Like, God, you're in charge. So let's do that. Number 2, this is not hard. Bring an offering next week in an envelope. In this envelope for the building. Just ask God. Now it says, ask God. That's it. And then God's going to answer. And then what are you going to do? By faith, step out and do what God asks you to do. That's it. So how many believe we could get that done? Are these instructions way too hard? Come on, are they too hard? I don't understand them, Pastor. It's way too difficult. No, they're not that hard. I believe we could do everything that God asks us to do. And the third thing, I want you to pray to God and ask him for a word for 2019. A word. Ask him, God, speak to me. What's my word for 2019? Write that word on that envelope. And while you're asking him for a word, I would also say this. Set goals for your future. Write them down. Set receiving goals, like what I'm ready to receive from God. But I also would recommend this. set a given goal above your tithes. Say, I want to give this, or I want to give this percentage. I gave this percentage last year. I want to give this percentage this year. In that goal, we handle all the expansion. We could buy that property. We could buy that property. Maybe God will give you a number. You could write it down. This is what I'm believing I could give. So how many believe we could handle those three things? One, I'm going to tithe. Two, what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring an offering next week. And three, I'm going to ask God for a given goal, for expansion, for his kingdom. Businesses do it all the time. Let's handle God's business. Let's give the Lord a hand if you're receiving that. Now, what I want to do, I want to take you to Numbers 13, and I want to just talk to you for a few minutes on how a vision is completed. How a vision is completed. A vision is completed really simple. It's real simple. Number one, God gives a vision. Say with me, God gives a vision. The second thing that happens is we believe the vision and act on it. Say with me, we believe the vision and what? You'll never accomplish something that you don't even believe that can be accomplished. So God will give you a vision, or he'll give you a promise. He'll give you an idea. He'll give you a ministry idea. But it'll never come to pass if you're talking yourself out of it and you never act on it. Procrastination has ripped people off of their destiny and their purpose. So be careful when God is stretching you that you don't talk yourself out of what God is trying to do through you. Now, when we're talking about vision, vision is a picture of the future, a revealed picture of your future that God gives you. It's a picture of your future. What I need to do is say, God, I can't do it, but you can do it, and you can do it through me. So that's how God has done everything on earth. He gives men and women like me and you God vision, and people say yes to the vision and start acting on it. And while they act on it, the third thing happens. God makes the vision come to pass. We're in this building not because we had millions of dollars in the bank and we decided to do an investment. We came into this building with just vision, with nothing in the bank. But if God has given us vision, how many believe he can make the vision come to pass? What's our part? Believe and act. What's our part? What? So let's look at this scripture. In Numbers 13, the Lord now said to Moses, send out men to explore the land of Canaan, the land I am giving to the Israelites. Send one leader from each of the 12 ancestral tribes. So now God is giving vision. Who is he giving vision to? Moses. Who is he giving vision to? Moses. To a man. Now this is where we got all messed up. We start thinking maybe like what they thought. He's just Moses. What makes him think he could hear from God? But God gives vision in a couple ways. One of them, he gives vision while you're reading the Bible. He starts expanding your thinking. The second way he gives vision is through prayer. God begins to speak to you while you're praying. You're speaking, he's speaking. A third way he gives vision is through dreams. You're dreaming. This is how this church started. One night I was sleeping. God invaded my dreams. And he said this, go. They're sheep and you're their shepherd. If you don't go, they won't have a shepherd. So God began to tell, and I told Lisa, I believe God's telling us to start a church. So God will invade your dreams. A fourth way that God gives vision is through your leadership. When you come to church, God begins to speak vision over the church and over the church that you're part of, and even over your life. So God told Moses, tell these leaders to go into the land of Canaan and have them explore the land I am giving them. Now, when they were walking through that land, it wasn't a land that God might give them. It was a land that God already made up his mind. It's theirs. So when God gives you a vision is a promise. So our part is not difficult. And I say, well, it can't be difficult. But our part is to believe and act on it. What's our part? That's our part. Believe and what? Act on it. Believe and act on it. So I'm asking you right now, what is God revealing to you? And if you don't have any revelation right now, what God's revealing to you about your personal life, this is what you need to do. Ask. Because God has vision for every part of your life. Your relationships. I'll tell you this. He even has vision for your trials and your tribulations. He's saying it's not going to end the way you think it's going to end. It's not going to end the way the doctors say it's going to end. It's not going to end the way those people don't like you say it's going to end. Seek after me. Don't lean on your own understanding. Let me show you what I'm doing in this situation. So God has vision. So now, he sent leaders to explore the land, and they explored. Their job is just to believe and act. What's their job? So what? Believe and act. This is what happens in verse 26 of Numbers 13. After exploring the land for 40 days, the men returned. So they looked at the land. They returned to Moses, Aaron, and the whole community of Israel at Kadesh in the wilderness of Paran. They reported to the whole community what they had seen and showed them fruit they had taken from the land. So they brought fruit from that land, and the fruit was the land was so healthy that the scripture says they had a cluster of grapes that was so big it needed 2 grown men to carry the cluster of grapes. What they were seeing was fruitfulness productivity they've never ever seen in their lives. This is what God is saying, and I pray you receive this. God is ready to take you to a place of greater spiritual fruitfulness than you've ever been in your life, and that's why God has you here exploring the land and hearing the word. God is taking us somewhere. Let's walk it out. Someone say, let's walk it out. So now they come back and wow, the land is awesome. It is fruitful. This was their report to Moses. We entered the land you sent us to explore, and it is indeed a bountiful country, a land flowing with milk and honey. Here is the kind of fruit it produces. But the people living there are powerful, and their towns are large and fortified. We saw even giants there, the descendants of Anak. The Amalekites live in Negev, the Hittites, the Jebusites, the Amorites, the Cellulites, and the bedbug bites live in the hill country. All those ites, right? The Canaanites live along the coast of the Mediterranean Sea, along the Jordan Valley. Now, this is what makes vision difficult. What makes vision difficult is that every vision comes with natural obstacles. Every vision comes with an enemy. Every vision comes with problems. And this is why most people don't succeed, because they focus on the problem, they don't focus on the promise. The more you focus on the problem, the bigger the problem gets, and you turn little small people into giants. Everybody's giants and everybody's huge, and the problems, we can't do it. See, we got to stop looking at our past. We got to stop looking at our bank accounts. We got to stop looking at our failures. We got to stop looking, come on, at what's not right. We got to stop looking. We got to stop looking at our haters. We got to start looking back from the beginning. Let's get back to the word. Let's get back to the promise. It doesn't matter who's in that land. God said that land is ours. But it's easy now to say that about them, but it's more difficult to say this about ourselves. Because your giant might be one brick. So I just hit home right there. I got 500. You know, my daughter, I'm going to give you an example. When God gives you a vision, he's going to help you bring it to pass. I'm going to get that. I've learned this after years of doing ministry. We started this church on the streets. We did not start with millions of dollars and a church that was backing us up. We started on the streets just knocking on doors, and God says, just love some people. If they're hungry, go to the grocery store, State of Brothers, and go buy them some food. If the kids don't have clothes, go to Walmart and buy them some clothes and bring them some clothes. Just love the people. If I show you a need, I'm going to give you the resources to meet those needs. You can do it. But I've learned this. If we're ever going to see a vision come to pass, we're going to have to tell our negative thinking to shut up. When we're talking about this, is there negative thinking coming up in your mind that we're trying to reach more people? Has there maybe a thought say, I know what's going on here, they're trying to get to my money? Is that maybe the thoughts that are going through your mind? Because if those are the thoughts you're going through your mind, you don't say that when you go to the casino. You don't say that when you go to the club. You don't say that when you go, come on, when you go to the car dealership. You don't say that when you go to Walmart. The only time we say that is when we come to the house of God. Because I'll tell you why, there's a battle right now for your purpose. And they were running into maybe giants here and giants there, but we're running into giants in our mind that will stop us from accomplishing everything that God has called us to do. Me standing up here, for me to stand up here, there's a lot of giants I got to face and conquer and magnify God. Do you think I want to come up here and talk about this? I'd rather talk about anything but this, because I know there's warfare on this subject. But I love you enough. God is saying, I love you enough to give you a vision, because I'm taking you somewhere, and you're going to get there by believing and exercising your faith. God's trying to take our church somewhere, but it's going to take some faith. So this is what it said. But Caleb tried to quiet the people as they stood before Moses. Let's go at once to take the land, he said. We can certainly conquer it. You know what he was saying? He goes, shut up. Shut up with all that negative talk. That negative talk is going to stop the vision from coming to pass. Stop trying to talk everyone out of it. This is our time to enter in. Yes, we can do it because God said we can do it. Let's forget about the past. It's time to move forward and accomplish everything that God said for us to accomplish. How can I do with my record? How can I do with my past? Let's stop that nonsense. But the other men, what ended with this, who had explored the land with him, disagreed. We can't go up against them. Oh my gosh. I wonder how many of us right now, God is saying you can, and we're saying we can't. And you know what's crazy about this we can't? They're doing it with exclamation points. Like they're screaming their negativity. Have you ever got to the point where negativity is screaming in your mind? Like you can't even hear God because all the negativity that's attacking your mind. They are stronger than we are. Preach it, Pastor. Because they're preaching right now. And there were people listening to them. Go to verse 32, please. So they spread this bad report. There is people listening to them about the land among the Israelites. The land we traveled through and explored would devour anyone who goes to live there. All the people we saw were huge. What do you mean all the people you saw were huge? You know why all the people they saw were huge? Because when we start focusing on the obstacles, when we start focusing on the negative, this is what we do. All we could do is highlight it. We can't see nothing good because we're only highlighting the bad. So when they looked on the crowd, they ignored every small person and they highlighted every big person. So they said, everyone we saw, according to your perspective, was huge. This is so dangerous. We got to learn to say no to those thoughts, because those thoughts can hold us captive for the rest of our lives and get us stuck right here in this present. I'm not interested in 2019 being the same thing as 2009. Come on, as 18. I want God to do what he's never done in my life, in this church, but I'm going to have to silence the present me to stop trying. Because the present me is trying to stop me from becoming the future me. So I got to say, shut up, Marco. Shut up, negative thoughts. Shut up, situations. I'm going in. Because your greatest enemy is in those Hittites, Moabites, cellulites, bedbug bites. It's none of them. Our greatest enemy is the thoughts that are in our head right now. The thoughts that say, I can't.